when you're moving from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates, and we continue our conversations this morning. We know we are in the month of October and we are preparing for Tobago Carnival, and we have to talk about preparedness and being ready for the road. And we're speaking with Mr. Allan Stewart. He is the director of TEMA, as we know, and we're going to be talking about some of the areas that we need to consider to be ready for Carnival 2023. Good morning, Mr. Stewart, and welcome.
Good morning, and good morning all of Tobago and the wider world who is, I know is tuned in.
Yes.
Certainly.
So we're talking Carnival. Carnival is in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's back again,
Yes,
and,
it's back again.
Yeah. The October Carnival is becoming a feature or a staple feature in the Trinidad and Tobago calendar. And, since 2005, we have been seeking to provide a level of safety, security. This allow itself for us to be setting up what is called a joint command operations. So the 28th and the 29th, you can see TEMA will make itself visible along with its partners. I was very pleased when I learned that they would have established ACP Collis Hazel as the goal commander for this year's festivity in Tobago. I know he did quite a fantastic job in Port of Spain for the last National Carnival, and bring that wealth to this event. We are already seeing progress, and I'm here to reassure the Tobago public that we can expect safety and security to be by no means on the downside. Certainly, we have improved in our standings, and we will bring the necessary infrastructure and all of its appurtenances that are necessary for allowing the event to work smoothly. And our partners consist of a number of different players, which you are quite aware of. I spoke about the TTPS by mentioning the ACP, and also we have health, the TRHA, and different arms of the Division of Health. One of the major features I observed that is they are paying very close attention to is public health in terms of food preparation and things like that. And we're expecting that, all this information is necessary for the public to be aware of so that they can ready themselves. Carnival for us in Tobago means quite a lot. It means we're speaking about the economy, we are speaking about tourism, we are speaking about our well-being, showcasing how we live. And this year Carnival, we are looking forward to those improved packages, that will come along with the festivity. From our end, the revelers have their thing to do, the mass players, the musicians, and they have their things to do, but it has to operate in a space of safety. And therefore, based on the meetings that we have been having, led by the goal commander, we observed that it will make our job at TEMA very, very easy, an easier one this year, in terms of the level of collaboration, the level of coordination, and things like that.
Right, so what are some of the areas we have to pay attention to in terms of providing that measure of safety, especially as you have to join forces with all the other stakeholders who are responsible for hosting this carnival?
Yeah, well, there are quite a number of risk factors associated with these events. One, it poses a threat there's a possibility, even though it's somewhat low, but if it happens, it can be very devastating. Mass casualty. You have a large amount of people assembling in an area, and therefore you have music trucks. So the requirement is that these trucks go through the necessary approval to make sure that they are safe to be on the road. They adhere to certain conditions. So these are some of the areas of safety that they are concerned about. And then I mentioned the need for public health. The public health educators are out there. And persons who are interested in vending, they have very stringent measures, and not just these measures, but also advisories as to how one should um, prepare food for consumption in such a large scale. There will be activities leading up to those 2 days that I mentioned. But people will be having fets, and therefore we ask. It's an opportunity to for extremism in terms of crime and people uh, who want to be adverse to what is good living. There are people that seize and take these opportunities to do heinous crimes and things like that. And we are hoping that based on what the education that is going out there, that persons will take the necessary precautions, especially if you are to leave your homes and things like that. You ensure your cars, in the height of the festivities sometimes, and the amount of liquid that you have within you, you can become very, very careless. And therefore, we ask people to, while they are having fun, to be very careful and be very cautious as to how you deal with the safety of your property, not just your homes, but also your cars, your jewelry, things like that. So these are areas of concern. And then we are operating in a time when, because of the El Nino effect, where the earth is in alignment with the sun and things like that, you are having extreme heat conditions. And therefore, it is important that we remain hydrated as much as possible during these festivities, that we ensure that we take in the right type of liquids. Oh my goodness. I remember, as I said that, the man said that you have enough blood in his you don't have enough blood in his alcohol. So when it's supposed to work the reverse way, a lot of consumption of that type of liquor sometimes could harm one's judgment, and one has to guard against that. And then there's the other side of persons who may try to be, or allow yourself to be promiscuous in terms of what you may do. You have people who will, how you carry yourself is very important. It's a period of time where people, give themselves to
Revelry.
revelry, and therefore that have its own challenges and costs attached to it. How you behave, especially being under the influence, as a songwriter will say. So these are some of the cautions that we wish to advise people, and ensuring that they are ready for the festival. Another thing is just basic fitness. It's important that your legs are able to carry you. That you
And your lungs,
and
especially
your
for that
lungs is
route.
able to, yes. The route is it's a very interesting route. You have enough room to ramage, as the people will say. But at the same time, you have to know your limits, know exactly what you are doing, and make sure that, during this period, you're doing the necessary exercises and your muscles are well toned to what you want to do. Don't overdo it. Don't try to impress anyone. Sometimes we men try to do things that we haven't done for the whole year, but you want to go down to the ground and all them
Yes.
kind of stuff. Don't want to injure yourself in this. But switching gears a little bit, I want to lend some thought to what we'll be doing.
I was just about to ask,
Yeah,
yes, because you can advise them, you can advise your revelers, you can advise your
and things
stakeholders,
happen.
but what are we doing? What are, what
Things
is
hit the
the
fan.
things that are in place?
Yeah. Well, it's like talking about fire prevention. A house will get burned down, and so people may get injured, and we anticipate that. So we will be setting up at two major locations. One, there will be a venue operations center that will be set up. I probably should not want to disclose the location, but a venue operations center will be set up for the coordination at a certain level, where strategies and will be in effect to allow for the safety of our persons who are on the road. And as I said, the necessary appurtenances will go along with that to ensure that that level of surveillance takes place. And there is also the risk, as I mentioned, of injuries as a result of what one may get involved in by accidents may occur, MVAs or motor vehicle accidents, a lot of may happen. But the venue operations center will allow for that big picture while we will deploy the mobile command unit and also an advanced medical post. One will be in the streets of Scarborough and the other will be at a location that will allow for that type of interaction. There is also will be medical posts strategically around the route to allow for if there is any injuries or any of the such, we will be able to stabilize, stabilize, and go to a definitive place of care where care can take place. The objective is not to overwhelm the hospital. I know the medical committee will be meeting today to discuss the rudiments, the nuts and bolts issues as it relates to it, as to what are some of the features that they will bring into the picture to allow that to happen, whether or not health centers in key areas will be open or whether or not they will confine. It all has to do with the resources available. So the medical committee will be meeting sometime later on today, and also the members of the Tobago Disaster Management Committee will have their pre-carnival emergency meeting to discuss all of the nitty-gritties as it relates to crowd control, road control, the looking at infrastructure, things like that. I know last Friday, a walkabout took place in Scarborough led by the goal commander, and that allowed us to look at the infrastructure. Work begun yesterday by the Division of Infrastructure. They started their works and the repairs of the pavement, making sure that there is no manhole that will become no obstacle that will become a problem. Also, the utilities paying attention to overhead lines to ensure that bands pay attention to the regulation. So the licensing authority will be dealing with those matters, and so you will ensure that safety will be in effect from all points. Strong communications will be in effect. Members, we are engaging for communication, REACT, the Radio Emergency Associated Communications team, to ensure that the bands move in a particular order. I know there's time constraint to how much time they can spend on the highway, because as you may know, a portion of the highway will be utilized. The limitation of roads that we have in Tobago lends itself to that type of activity, and therefore it needs to be managed in a particular manner, and constraint needs to be done where the use of the highway is concerned for very short periods. So we expect things to go in a particular way.
The interesting thing I hear talking about potholes and pavements. So that is good, ensuring that those things are level and safe for the revelers and the pedestrians and all the persons who are going to be a part of the thing. Also, low-hanging wires have been seen. Some low-hanging wires. So I heard you mention that, so that is under consideration as well. What I want to ask, though, is I know this is our second Tobago Carnival, and of course, TEMA would have been part of the first one. So what are the assessments that you made from the first one that you're bringing into this, your strategy for this year? What are the improvements that you're making, or the things that you have to add on to ensure a safer on the road for Carnival 2023?
One of the things last year Carnival lack was closed circuit television was not utilized sufficiently, and we intend to allow for that to happen. We intend to revert back to the mobile command unit, in the sense that we recognize that immediate care and that depth of care where medical is concerned was not where it ought to be in terms of the infrastructure. So one of the things you want to do, you want to ensure that the medical teams are operating in a space that they feel comfortable, that they can have the necessary tools that at their disposal, so that concern as to whether or not They can deal with the type of threats or the type of injuries, the type of cases that may confront them. The advanced medical posts allow for that. That will be a feature that will be in the operations this year. And one of the things that we did not do last year quite effectively was the um, collaboration with our players. It was all new, and when I say new, a new administration and things like that. So the level of collaboration that is taking place this year, as I mentioned, the goal commander, it was very instructive that he led the entire team out in the streets, and we were able to look at the infrastructure, look at the space, walk the entire route to examine what are some of the concerns. We do it at a time where nightfall met us, so we could see what is the night effects, where need additional lighting. All of these factors play a role. Over the years, one of the things that made the Carnival so safe in Tobago, and that is one of the selling points of the Tobago Mass, is that you are creating a safe space, is the level of intervention that one can take by simply monitoring people's behavior. You could know when a fight just don't start out of the blue. Sometimes you think it start out of the blues, but it start with a little somebody mash somebody toe, somebody push off somebody spill a drink, somebody whine on something that they wasn't supposed to whine on. Things like that happen, and
That's
these
right,
are the
that's
things that
true.
start the
Culturally.
thing. So if you're monitoring and you're observing what is, before it escalates, you can intervene, and the necessary armed forces will be available once more to provide that level of intervention, so that we can mitigate against anything escalating out of control. So we will not have a disaster on our hands, even though there will be emergencies.
Right. Well, we thank you so much for bringing us up to date as to what is happening for our carnival. We feel safe. I feel safe.
Certainly.
I will not be reveling, but I feel as if we will have a safe carnival for this year, considering all the measures that are put in place, the collaboration with the different stakeholders and all the persons responsible for providing that measure of safety. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, you are also responsible for yourself. Remember, yes, we are reveling, not we, but yes, you will be reveling, consuming alcoholic beverages and stuff like that, but you need to be responsible for yourself. You need to pay attention to the guidelines that have been set out for you, and you also need to remember that last year Carnival, it was cooler than it is this year. This year is very hot, so remember to remain hydrated. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. Allan Stewart, and he is the Director of Tobago Emergency Management Agency, bringing us up to date as to how safe and ready Tobago is for Carnival 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a break before we continue our conversations, and we're asking you, of course, to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be back.